Hey Sunflower students, it's Mr. Justin here, and I'm making this video so basically I can tell you guys everything that I'm going to be grading you on the upcoming assessment test for drums. I know a lot of you had some questions about it, and some of you are doing pretty good. Some of you definitely need some work in these areas, so I figured I would make this video to give you all a good idea of what you need to know to be ready for the assessment test. So first off, let's talk about the first thing on the list. Well, actually, let's look at the guidelines here. Let's look at that first. Let me switch my scene. You all already have this printout, so you've all already seen this, but let's just go over it again real quick. There's 6 grading factors. We have technique being number 1, timing being number 2, your reading ability number 3, rudiments number 4, playing difficulty number 5, more on that in a little bit, and creativity number 6. Each category, except for number 6, is worth 15 points. Number 6 is worth 25 points. So you have a possible highest score of 100, but nobody's going to get that. Just so you know, I seriously doubt anybody will get that. That you'd have to be the world's most perfect drummer to get 100 points. But, you know, that's something to strive for in the future. So anyway, let's talk about the first thing on the list. Let me switch my camera back here. How do I do it? Camera only. There we go. So first thing on the list is technique. Okay, technique. I'm talking about how you're holding your sticks. You know, I talked to you guys a lot about this. Make sure you have your thumb on the other side of this index finger. When you're holding your sticks, you're not sticking your index finger out like this. And when you're hitting the drums, make sure that your sticks are pointing inward, not like this. Like sometimes I see some drummers with their wrists kind of out, overturned like this. We don't want to hit the drums like that. So make sure that your wrists are, or your palms, basically the palm of your hand here is facing down, or mostly down. It can be a little bit like this, but you know, you want your sticks to be pointing in towards the drums, not out. If you play like this, you're going to miss a lot and you're going to hit a lot of rims. So let's not do that. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is your posture. Make sure you're not hunched over when you're playing the drums and your back's not hunched over. Try to sit up straight. Some people have naturally curved backs. I have a little bit of a curved back, so that's okay. I'm not going to judge you on that. But make sure that you're sitting up straight and your balance is good. You don't want to be leaning over to one side, you know, with a shoulder up. You don't want to be facing this direction. Actually, that's another thing on the list here. Facing forward. You definitely want the drums in front of you. You don't want to be facing to the side because when you go to play a fill or something like that, then you have to reach over here to hit your third tom. So we want to make sure that we're facing forward, we're sitting up straight, we're holding the sticks correctly, and our foot is staying on the bass drum pedal, not lifting up in the air when you hit the pedal every time. You want to make sure that you keep your toe on the pedal itself and try to keep your heel up. It's okay if you play heel down. I'm not totally against that, but heel up I think is a better technique, but as long as you're keeping your foot on the pedal, I think either way is okay with me. So make sure that you're doing all of those and you will do good in technique. Some of you are already doing really good at that. Some of you need to work on it some. Next thing on the list is timing. So we want to make sure that we're able to stay on the beat of the music. Some of you struggle with this quite a bit. Now, I've talked to some of you about, you know, the best way to improve this is to use a metronome, practice doing quarter notes, and then switch to eighth notes, and then switch to 16th notes, and then, you know, back to quarter notes, and just keep doing that to the metronome. If you don't know what those notes are, then that's the next thing we need to talk about that you really need to work on. You should be able to tell the difference between all of the different notes, know how they work in music, know how to count them, and I'm talking about quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, all of that stuff. That's the reading ability part of the test. So you need to know the difference between the notes. I'm going to try to, here, let's open this up and I can show you the reading part of the test. Let's talk about all of these things here. Hopefully you can see my pointer. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see more of what I'm talking about. You all need to know what this symbol is right here. And no, that is not a pause symbol. That is called a percussion clef. The clef is the first thing you will see on every piece of written music that tells you what instrument that music is written for. Percussion just means instruments that you hit. So drums are instruments that we hit. This symbol means percussion. percussion clef. So it's called a percussion clef. You all need to know that. Okay. The next thing up here, next to the percussion clef, we have two numbers. We have a 4 and a 4. This is called time signature. Some of you have not known this, and I can't believe it because it's one of the first things that I teach you when you come to my class. So you all need to know what time signature is and what it means. What does it mean? The top 4, or the top number, it's not always a 4, the top number tells you how many beats there are in one measure. What's a measure? A measure is one of these thingies. So these are all measures. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 measures here on the top of the screen, and there's 4 beats in all of those. So what does that mean? What is a beat? A beat, in this instance, is going to be a quarter note. How do we know that it's a quarter note? That's what the bottom number tells us. The bottom number tells us what type of note is equal to 1 beat. So if it's a 4, think about there's 4 quarters in a dollar. So a quarter note is 1 beat if it's a 4. If your time signature is 7/8, then you would have 7 beats in one measure, and 1 beat would be an eighth note. Okay? So you all need to know time signature. It's very important. Okay, so we're counting to 4 in every single measure. That's why we count to 4, because there's 4 beats. We're counting beats, and we're counting quarter notes as a beat. All right, next here is our tempo. That's what this note right here, this quarter note equals 122. That's what that's telling us. So that's telling us 1 beat, there's 122 beats in 1 minute. We measure this in something called BPM. Let me type that on the screen here. That is what we measure tempo. Well, let's write down tempo too. It's called tempo. Tempo means speed, and it's measured in BPM. Okay? So 122 is our BPM, which is beats per minute. Not beats per measure. Beats per measure is what our 4 in the time signature, the top number, tells us. It tells us that there's 4 beats in each measure. BPM is beats per minute. That talks about tempo. So here we have a quarter note equals 122 beats per minute. That's our tempo. So that tells us how fast it's going to be. If you have more beats per minute, the song's going to be faster. If you have less beats per minute, the song's going to be slower. Alrighty. Next thing we need to know are what this thing is here that our measures are on. So what I mean by that is these 5 lines. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 horizontal lines going across the page, and many of them in rows going down the page. That is called the staff. So we all need to know what that is called, and it's called the staff. After that, we also need to know the difference between all of the different note types. So what I mean by that, I don't mean which drum. When I ask you what kind of note this is, right here, I'm not asking you which drum that is. I'm asking you what type of note, what value note. And in this instance, these are quarter notes, or it's a quarter note. And we have a quarter note on the hi-hat pedal, a quarter note on tom 3, and quarter note on snare all at the same time. That's why they're on top of each other like that. We also need to know the different rest types. What is this right here? That is a quarter note rest. Over here, we have a half note rest. And let's see if I have any eighth note rests in here anywhere. I don't think I do, but figure that out. So I want you to know all the different note types, up to 16th notes. You have to know what a quarter note is. You have to know what an eighth note is. These are eighth notes right here. When we have 1 line connecting them on the top, it's called an eighth note. When you have 2 lines connecting them on the top, it's called a 16th note. Now, there's not always lines connecting. You can have a single 16th note, which will have 2 kind of flag-looking things off the top of it. So they don't have to be connected to be a 16th note or an eighth note. Now, another thing I want you to know is the basics of where the drums are on the staff. Now, some of you who've taken lessons with me for a while know that it's not always 100% the same. So you need to know your note types. You need to know the staff. You need to know tempo. You need to know time signature. You need to know rests. What else? I guess that's all. So those are the basics. We also we would like to know, there's none in this right here, but we'd like to know what a repeat symbol looks like as well, which is this over here. Let me just drag one here so you can see it. So there's our repeat symbol. So we should know what that is as well. I'll probably ask about that too. Okay, next section. I know that's a big one, but I think a lot of you do pretty good on reading. Some of these other ones are the ones we need to talk about and stress a little bit more. Okay, rudiments. All right, now I made the rudiments section a little bit easier than it was because I had more stuff on there before. The main thing that we're going to focus on is the double stroke roll and left and right paradiddles. So double stroke roll being you want to bounce your stick so you get 2 hits out of each hand. I don't think you can see that, and I'm hitting my desk, but let's see. Okay, so 2 hits out of each hand. The paradiddle, I'll put it up on the screen, is right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, or left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So I want you guys to be able to do both of those, double stroke rolls and a paradiddle. If the double stroke roll doesn't have to be perfect, I just want you to do your best at it. If you can kind of get a pretty decent sounding double stroke roll, you will pass that part. Okay. Now the next section here, the playing difficulty, how difficult a song a student can play. This is not going to be like, I don't expect every single student to be able to play the same difficulty. I'm going to take a couple of things into consideration here. If you're older, if you're one of my older students between the ages of 11 to 15 years old, then of course I would expect you to be able to play something a little more difficult than the students who are 6 to 8 years old or 6 to 10 years old. Now that being said, if you've played for several years already and you're younger, then I would expect you to be able to play better than the students who have only been taking lessons for less than a year. So that is going to be a sliding scale. I'm just going to take into consideration how long the student has played as well as how old they are. So that is going to be a sliding scale. Creativity. Now this is one that a lot of students are worried about. And this is partly my fault because I have not been teaching this enough. Creativity is very important. And that's why I gave it 25 points rather than 15 points. And this is the ability to play the drums without reading music. And I don't want you to look at anything. I just want you to listen. Listen to music and be able to play. You should be able to put on a song and play something. It doesn't have to be exactly like what the drums are in the actual song, what the drummer's playing, but you should be able to understand where the beat is and play on time to just about any song that is a reasonable tempo. So the best way to practice this is just put on music that you know on YouTube and play along. Or the other thing is to go into YouTube and search drumless track with click. And I've showed you guys this already. If you search that on YouTube, you'll get a lot of results of like basically background music that doesn't have drums and it has a metronome. So you can play along and try to figure out, what to play. The more you do this, the easier it will get. Another thing too is just to listen to music. When you listen to music, listen to the drums. Try to hear what the bass drum is doing. Try to hear what the snare drum is doing. Try to hear the hi-hat. Try to hear all of those different things in the music. That's how you learn. This is really like learning all the reading and technique. That's all very important. But the main thing is being able to listen and repeat what you hear and change it and make it your own. That is really what becoming a good musician is about. So anyway, creativity, that's really, really important. We need to really start practicing that. I want all of you to get better at being creative. Anyway, hopefully this helped. If you have any questions, you can ask me in class or you can leave a comment down below and I'll reply. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. See you in class later.